9:30. It is Saturday morning, June 19th, and we're talking about Tropical Storm Claudette and how this is going to impact our weekend here across North Georgia. Because even though this storm is hundreds of miles away from us, the center of it, we're going to get some big impacts from the storm, mainly in the form of heavy rainfall. So this is not going to be the same type of tropical system for us as, say, Zeta from last year when it was a widespread wind gust event for us. This one is going to be a heavy rainfall event for us. There is also a secondary, much lower threat and risk of a brief, isolated, weak spin-up tornado. But I really think that for the most part, that flooding risk is going to be the biggest thing that we're going to be talking about here over the next 36 hours. And here's the latest. This is the update as of 8 o'clock this morning from the National Hurricane Center. The center of the storm just north of Lake Pontchartrain and New Orleans area, but all of the thunderstorm activity, all the rain, the tornado threats and everything, that's all on the eastern side of the storm. Okay, on the other side of the storm, that's the drier side of the storm where we just don't have that deep tropical moisture. And this is all coming in because winds around it go counterclockwise, so it's pulling in more moisture off of the Gulf of Mexico. You notice some red boxes on the map. These are all tropical, tornado watches that are in effect, and there are several tornado warnings ongoing with some rotation within some of those feeder bands that are going in. And then on the north side of this, we've got this kind of widespread. At times this is light and then it gets more intense, but this is kind of more of the stratiform rain. And we're in Atlanta right now, which is, you know, hundreds of miles away from the center of the storm, but we've got rain that's going to be moving in later today, and then we got to talk about some bigger threats, the threat of flash flooding as we head into the overnight. I want to show you the local radar, and I do want to answer as many questions as I can. So if you guys are watching on YouTube or on our 11 Alive app, if you're on Facebook, you can comment and we can get those questions and I'll try to answer them to help you plan out your outdoor activities for the weekend. But if you're watching us, you can download that app to get the latest on this tropical storm. We've got the cloud cover over North Georgia right now. Now, our most southern counties over towards Troup, Meriwether, Heard counties, that's the first areas that we'll start to see more of these showers approaching, and then things become more widespread as we head later into the afternoon for us. So here's the big picture track. Again, the center of the storm, still a tropical storm technically with winds of 45 miles per hour, gusts up to 60. They did have a gust of 60 at the Pensacola airport, I believe it was, earlier this morning. But this is going to become kind of a remnant low, a tropical depression, then a remnant low tomorrow morning as it tracks right on top of kind of north central Georgia. So ahead of the actual center of the storm passing through, that's when the bulk of this rain comes in. So let's get into the meat of things. Rainfall, how much are we expecting? Some areas could get 4 or more inches of rain. Now, wind is not going to be a huge factor with the system, just general winds within it because, you know, it's only a tropical storm now. By the time it gets to us, it's like a remnant low. So it's going to become breezy, and that's about it. We'll have some gusts that could be 20, 25 miles per hour, but I don't expect really strong winds because this thing will continue weakening as it gets further inland. Now, we also mentioned that secondary threat of a brief spin-up tornado. Will primarily be between this evening, overnight, and first thing early tomorrow morning that we could see that isolated brief weak spin-up tornado. But I really think that rain is something we need to focus on in the bigger picture, because look at this. Here's the forecast track big picture. As we head throughout the rest of the morning, the early afternoon, we'll have a few rain bands, tropical downpours possible, but the widespread rain that starts to move in late afternoon to early evening. So here's the forecast track as I pause things at 5:30. We have kind of our first wave of widespread rain moving in. Some of that few pockets could be more like, you know, heavy. And then we'll go through the overnight, more heavy rainfall around midnight, overnight, and then first thing tomorrow morning. The center of the storm, first thing tomorrow morning, is right on top of us. And this is when heavy rain will continue. But by mid-morning to early afternoon, watch the difference on the forecast track big picture. Okay, all the heavy rain starts to move east, and then in the afternoon the last of the showers are already tapering off for us. So your Father's Day is actually going to finish rather dry. Father's Day weekend starts kind of dry this morning, but in the middle there's a huge chunk where it's very wet outside. So let's talk about how much rain, who's going to see the heaviest. Here's the flash flood watch. First of all, from kind of Gwinnett County, this I-85 corridor out towards the I-20 corridor, Haralson County, points south that's who's in the flash flood watch. Those areas could see 3 to 5 inches. It could be locally higher, and it's not going to be widespread that we see flooding everywhere, but within that area, low-lying points on the road, creeks, streams, all of those could have some flash flooding. Roads with poor drainage, especially around the metro, could get some flash flooding in the overnight to first thing tomorrow morning. And the rainfall forecast, easily some areas could get 3, 4, 5 inches. Now here's the latest European model. And I like to look at these weather models very frequently because they try to update who's going to see the highest rainfall totals. We're seeing this kind of shifting a little bit further south. So this particular run of the European model is putting, 1 to 2 inches in our northernmost suburbs. Then in the heart of the metro, between 2 and 4 inches. South side of the metro, between 3 and 5. So it's really pinpointing that south side of town as you head closer, basically from Clayton County all the way down to Upson County, where we could potentially see those highest rainfall totals. But this will all change as the final track changes. So there's that potential for flash flooding. Now, let's get into the forecast track hour by hour. Tropical downpours, the outermost rain bands, some showers, those are going to start building in here as we head throughout the next couple of hours this morning through midday, but it's not widespread. So your outdoor activities this morning through early afternoon, you might have to dodge some of those rain showers, but it's not a washout for us. Once we go later into the afternoon, the more steady rain starts to build in, and it really becomes heavy in the overnight through first thing tomorrow morning. So what I've put as our critical timing for the heaviest and wettest time frame for us, that's between 5 p.m. this evening and 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. Then we'll go into Sunday midday through the afternoon. We're going to see the showers actually tapering off altogether. So for the afternoon hours on Father's Day, there's a drying trend. Does that mean you can play a round of golf? The greens are probably way too wet for a round of golf after all that rain. But if you wanted to take a nice walk with Dad, or if you wanted to grill out, enjoy an evening outside, maybe you got the big screen TV outside and you want to watch the Hawks game outside tomorrow evening, that's going to be okay. All right, so here's the forecast track hour by hour. This morning, next couple of hours, we're going to start to see some of the couple of kind of scattered in nature little showers. Some of them will be downpours, but it's kind of these outermost little thin rain bands that start to move through early afternoon. Let's push the forecast track out to mid-afternoon, and at that point this more steady shield of rain starts to move into our southwestern counties. So the later in the afternoon that we go, the greater likelihood that some of your outdoor plans could be impacted by the rain moving in. The rain is widespread overnight, and it is going to be heavy at times. So you're going to notice as I push this forecast track out through the overnight, this is 1 a.m. Look at all the yellow, orange, red on the map. So that's a lot of tropical downpours where the rainfall rates could very easily be 1 inch per hour or greater. And this could be, enough to cause creeks and streams to run high, low-lying points on the roads to have some ponding or standing water. So we'll monitor that flash flooding threat through the overnight. 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, the center of the storm is right on top of us. So we will see at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning still some very heavy rain. First thing is the sun's coming up. And then as we go into, say, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, the heaviest rain axis starts to push a little further east. This is midday tomorrow. Still the center of the storm is right on top of us, but the heavy rain is through eastern Georgia, and we're starting that drying trend on the west side of town. And then by the mid-afternoon tomorrow, this is 4:30, look at this. Even showing our forecast track, it's even showing some hints of sunshine coming through. There will be some wraparound lighter rain showers, but they're going to become more and more spotty in nature and less numerous. So the afternoon on Father's Day is a huge drying trend for us. And then you might even get in a nice sunset tomorrow evening with some clearing skies out there. So here's the forecast for today again. This is tomorrow. And I don't actually like the way that's showing that. Let me show you today's forecast, the next 12 hours for us. There we go. That's what I like to see. Okay, so next couple of hours, it's scattered. Not everybody is getting the rain. We'll hit about 80 for the high temperature at best, I think, in Atlanta. And then late in the afternoon through the evening, the rain is widespread. It becomes heavier, and that heavy rain continues overnight. Also, Juneteenth Festival going on down at Centennial Olympic Park. The parade is at noon today, and although we could have a couple of showers we're dodging during that parade time frame, I really think it's going to be later in the event when the rain becomes more of an impact. And then tomorrow it's looking better for the Juneteenth event. Looks like we'll have a wet start, but things will dry out in the afternoon for that. And I'll show you the Father's Day forecast, rain tapering off and that little bit of sunshine even late in the day. So let me take some questions. I'm going to the 11 Alive Facebook page right now just to kind of join in the live conversation. I see we have over 250 of you watching right now. We appreciate you watching. You can share that if you have other friends who are wondering about how this weather is going to impact your weekend plans. Let me try to answer some questions. Mary is saying, checking in from Alpharetta. Thank you for the update. Lena's asking, do we think that this is going to be gone by Monday in North Georgia? The answer is yes, this system will be gone, but we're not done with rain chances for Monday, Lena, and I'll show you why. I'll push this forecast track out. Actually, I'm going to show you the big picture forecast track. Let's see here. Let me show you Monday afternoon. Okay, here's 3 o'clock Monday. And this is Atlanta to get your bearings. So Monday afternoon, we're going to have some afternoon scattered showers and storms, hit or miss. Not everybody's going to get one. But you notice up here, closer to Memphis and Paducah, Kentucky, this kind of line of showers and storms. That's our next cold front. So it's not just Monday we'll be tracking shower and storm chances. By Tuesday, this is Monday at 9:30 in the evening, but by Monday through Tuesday, this cold front's getting closer, and that brings us a higher rain chance again. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch for us. We have this tropical system, which is bringing us a lot of rain, and then we'll kind of have insult to injury rain as we go into Monday, Tuesday. So that could agitate. I think already some river levels are going to be running very high on Monday, so we'll monitor that throughout Monday, Tuesday. But that rain will not be widespread at the beginning of the week. That will not be widespread rain. So I've got a 40% chance for Monday and a 60% chance for Tuesday as of right now. Jess is asking how much rain to expect in total. And Jess, it really depends on where you are. If you're up in far north Georgia, your rain totals will probably be, they could be less than 2 inches. They could be only an inch or so. So far north Georgia, I think this model is probably overdoing the rain. This is the Weather Prediction Center, the rainfall potential for them. I think this is probably overdoing it a little bit up here, closer to Towns, Union, Lumpkin, Dawson counties. But down in the Atlanta immediate metro, I think that 3 to 5 is a good ballpark. The south side of town, I think they'll probably bump these numbers up a little bit in the next output of information. But I would say on the south side of town as well, 3 to 5 inches is possible. So I think up in the North Georgia mountains, the rainfall totals may not be quite as much, but I do think that down in the heart of the metro and the south side of town, 3 to 5 inches seems pretty reasonable for the total rainfall potential. Lynn is asking, what is it looking like for Toccoa? I've been to Toccoa many times. Very pretty there, over towards Lake Hartwell. So for Toccoa, let's go to the Futurecast, the forecast track close up. So throughout the afternoon for you in Toccoa, it's going to take longer for the widespread rain to move in. There will be some scattered hit or miss, tropical waves of tropical downpours that come in here during the late morning through the afternoon for you. But I don't think it's until we get later into the evening that the widespread rain starts to move in. And for those who don't know where Toccoa is, it's right about in here on the map. We have Stevens County is right next to Habersham County. So the widespread rain starts to move in later this evening, and then it will become heavier overnight. And rainfall totals for you probably in the ballpark of 2 to 3 inches, I would say. It's probably not going to get that much higher than that up there. What time will the rain start in West Georgia, Gina is asking. Yeah, so in West Georgia, the widespread rain will probably be moving in by mid to late afternoon. Here's 4:30, and if you're out towards, say, Carrollton or Polk County, the widespread rain's already here at that point. Now, if you are southwest of Atlanta, down I-85 through Coweta or Heard counties or Troup counties, then that rain could arrive even earlier. And I'll show you the radar right now, because when we get into these, when you're talking about the event happening the day of, sometimes the models are a little off from what's actually happening on radar. So we also have to look at radar and say, okay, how are our models comparing to what's actually happening out there? And what's actually happening out there is even some light spotty showers are already beginning to move in towards Columbus, Georgia, down here. So, you know, that could end up speeding up a little bit in terms of the timing. Your number of hours of dry time down towards LaGrange are going to be coming to an end here as we approach midday, as that rain already looks to be moving in. But if you're up towards Rome area and stuff, it's going to take a little bit longer before that rain, the steady rain, gets there until early to mid-afternoon probably. So ahead of the main, start of steadier rain moving in, I'll show you this on if we loop things, because I think this shows it really nicely. You see how there are a couple of skinnier lines of showers? We might see some of these developing in the metro as well through the morning to early afternoon. So when I say what time is the rain going to get there, the steady rain for a lot of us holds off until into the afternoon, but there might be some more showery type of deal, skinny rain bands that move in and try to develop as we head throughout the next couple of hours here. And Kim is asking about Atlanta, the timing of Atlanta. And yeah, so throughout the morning, if you get any showers, it won't be necessarily steady in Atlanta throughout the whole morning. But once we get into later this afternoon, it does become steady. And then it's pretty steady through the overnight and first thing tomorrow morning. Now, I was showing you, we have lots of different models we look at. I'm going to show you another model that I haven't showed you yet. This is the called the high resolution rapid refresh. This is a little bit overdoing it potentially, but it does have the faster timing in there. And that's what I do like about this model, how it starts to bring in some lighter rain by midday for us in Atlanta, and then late in the afternoon to early evening it picks up in intensity. So this one's probably overdoing it a little bit, but it's picking up on the faster trend, and then it has it heavy through the evening, through the early overnight, and first thing tomorrow morning, then things pull out of here. So that does have the rain already out towards LaGrange, showing it up pretty nicely. All right, let me see what other questions we have out there. Will the Braves game be wet? Karen is asking, yes. Unfortunately, the Braves game this evening looks wet. Tomorrow evening looks okay. And my answer would have been totally different to you even maybe a day ago or 2 days ago, looking at models versus looking at things now. So the Braves game this evening does look wet to the point where they may say, let's try a doubleheader tomorrow instead. And they may choose to make that decision. So the Braves game is going to be very wet. I think it potentially could be washed out, unfortunately. Aaron is saying, yeah, I bought tickets to drive in from Knoxville for the Braves game, 3.5 hour drive. Yeah, Aaron, if you, it might get rescheduled for tomorrow. Or let's see, let me check out the Braves schedule for Monday, because sometimes, they could always push it if they don't have another game Monday. I don't know it off the top. Oh, nope, they're out of town Monday. They're at the Mets. So yeah, they might have to cancel that tonight and reschedule it. LaShonda, how is it going to impact Kennesaw? And Lisa's asking Bartow County. So yeah, for everybody, let me just kind of recap what we're expecting. So this is a tropical storm, but named storm or not, the impacts really weren't going to change for us. We're expecting rain to be our biggest threat. Potential for some flash flooding. The heaviest is going to move in between 5 this evening and 9 tomorrow morning, but even before 5 o'clock, as you can already see on radar, we're going to be tracking some showers, and by the afternoon, for a lot of us, we're already going to be tracking some lighter rain moving in. But I think it picks up in intensity for this evening through the overnight and first thing tomorrow morning. Now, rain is our biggest threat, and that threat of flash flooding. But there's also this secondary, much lower threat, but still a threat, that there could be a brief, weak spin-up tornado. These happen with landfalling tropical systems. There's a little bit more spin or friction that can cause more spin as they're coming ashore. And so we could see a brief, weak spin-up tornado, and that's why we've got you covered here at 11 Alive, and we're going to have people, our storm trackers, we're going to be tracking radar, and we'll break in if that's needed throughout the overnight and first thing tomorrow morning. So that's our secondary threat. Now, wind, in terms of just it being windy as the storm is moving through, that's really not a factor. It will be breezy. We'll have some gusts 20, 25 miles per hour, maybe even a bit above that, but it's not going to be straight up windy. So this is not the same type of tropical system for us as, say, I keep saying Zeta from last year because, hey, we had like, I think it was 500,000 people without power, or 1 million at the height. Tampa area. Yeah, Terry, Tampa is really not going to be impacted the same way. In fact, I'll show you the wide picture of the forecast track because I don't even think the outermost rain bands impact Tampa at all. Yeah. Now, as you get up further north of Gainesville and up towards Tallahassee, some of those rain bands could impact them. But Tampa, it doesn't look like they're really going to be impacted by this. Let's see. Yep, nope, not really. Tennis match. Lou is saying we have a tennis match tomorrow. Do you think it will be dry enough by noon? Well, it may be dry enough for you to physically stand outside and try to play tennis, but I think the courts will be so wet that I don't know how that works if you'd still have the tennis match or not. But I think everything's going to be just super wet with like ponding of water probably on the tennis courts. You are most welcome, Karen. Any other questions, anybody? Let me see if I can get back in here. I'm just reading through your comments. Macon, Georgia. Tommy's asking about Macon. Yeah, so for Macon, the flash flood watch does extend into Macon, okay? So the heaviest rain access that we're anticipating, that 3 to 5 inch total locally higher, that's kind of through from Atlanta to Macon. So your rain starts to move in earlier than Atlanta itself. Let's look at the radar right now because I think there's already some light shower action in Macon, yeah. So things go downhill for you today pretty quickly. And just like the Atlanta area where it's heavy overnight through first thing tomorrow morning, that will kind of be the same for Macon. And down in Macon, I didn't show you guys this. Let me show you the severe weather outlooks for today and tomorrow, because we talked about that brief week spin up tornado that's possible. For today, it's down towards LaGrange, okay, but I would expect them to probably update that a little bit because this outlook's supposed to run through 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I do think in the overnight, that threat of a brief week spin up could kind of push in towards the Macon area. And then here is the outlook for tomorrow, which starts early tomorrow morning. And Macon, you're on a level 1 out of 5 threat there. So it's really not like straight line damaging wind threat. It is much more for us that brief week spin up that's a potential within some of these bands. Columbus, Georgia. Gary's asking, are we going to see 3 to 6 inches of rain in Columbus? You know, I would say 3 to 5 is pretty reasonable. And the cutoff, let me get a bigger picture map. The cutoff for those higher rain totals is down there towards Columbus, right in here. Then things will drop off pretty quickly because where the center of the storm is going and just to the south and east of the center, that's where all of the heaviest rain is going to be. So really from Atlanta down through Macon and Columbus is the highest rain totals, and then things will taper off on the southwest side of Columbus. So yeah, I would say, you know, 3 to 4, could be up to 5 is pretty reasonable for the Columbus area as well. Darlene saying, raining in Warner Robins now. Ooh, Corey is saying, I have a golf tee time at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Will we be playing in a heavy downpour or just steady rain? So it could be a downpour 8 tomorrow morning. And honestly, I think some of the greens will be so wet that they might say, you know what, we just cannot accommodate these tee times in the morning until things start to dry out. So I would call and check if you could reschedule that for like a mid-afternoon tee time. I think that would be much better. Much, much better. Sandy, for Thomaston, 3 to 5 inches is possible, yes. Yes. Dalton, Georgia, way up in here, probably 1 to 2 inches. Woodstock area, so I think the flash flood watch cuts off at Cobb and doesn't go into Cherokee, but I mean, you're right on the border anyways. But I would say in that ballpark of 2 to 4 inches probably for you in Woodstock. Again, guys, everybody's rain totals are going to be different. There could be pockets that just get inundated with tropical downpours for a little bit longer than somebody who might be 30 miles away from you, or even 20 miles away from you. So just know that there's going to be a lot of rain. It's going to be a soaking rain and potentially enough rain to cause some flash flooding. So that potential is there for anybody in the metro and points south. And if you're in the flash flood watch, in general, 3 to 5 inches seems like a reasonable amount. We could have higher amounts. We could also see some places that get lower amounts than that. Oh, Kizzy, I answered about Toccoa at the very beginning. The very beginning of this, one of the first questions I took was about Toccoa. So for Toccoa, as you go through the morning to mid-afternoon, there might be some showers or downpours that move through, but it's not going to be steady nonstop for you in Toccoa. It's not until we get into the evening that the steadier rain moves in for you in Toccoa. And your rain totals up in Toccoa, you're not in the flash flood watch. And when I talked about the rain totals, I said up in those northern couple tiers of counties, we probably only end up with maybe 1 to 2 inches. I mean, this is the outlook from the Weather Prediction Center. They have 1 to 3 inches up in Toccoa. I think that seems pretty reasonable. Jay is saying it is already raining in West Point. Yes. Dallas, Georgia, yeah, so for Dallas, let's put the forecast track up again. And actually, I'm going to, see, when we get into these day of things, all the models that I show you, they're all slightly different, and they're different interpretations on what's going to happen, and I don't love any of them perfectly. So I'm trying to pick which model I think is doing a better job with a new run coming in, because we just got a new run. I think this one's overdoing it. I think the other one's underdoing it. All right, I think this is underdoing it. But next couple of hours for Dallas, okay, there could be some showers or downpour activity. And then in the afternoon, the steadier rain starts moving in. And already on the radar though, here's the thing, we've got areas on the south side of town that are already starting to get this steady rain. So I think if you're up, it's pretty complicated. So if you're up in this region right now, next hour to 2 hours, it's more little rain bands or showers that move through. And then the steady rain is already moving in closer to, yes, West Point, and moving in towards Columbus and moving into LaGrange. And that steadier swath will keep pushing up into the metro. And it may end up being much faster than that one model was showing, but slower than the other model. So probably around midday, we'll start to see some of that light rain pushing into Atlanta. Somebody's saying, where would we need to take shelter just in case for Toccoa? I don't know where you're going to be within Toccoa, but again, if you're under, just to kind of review severe weather protocol, even though our tornado risk is overall low, it's not zero, but it's overall low. Whenever you're under tornado warning, you want to be in a sturdy building. So a camper or a trailer or a tent, if you're camping, it's not going to work. You got to go find a sturdy shelter. So if you're at a campground camping with the kids this weekend or something, go ahead and find where the shelter is. Not an open shelter, not a pavilion, but a sturdy shelter. So if they have like a bathroom facility or something that is, you know, a building on a concrete slab, that's better to be in. Or if there's a storm shelter. Some campsites have storm shelters. So those are always the best place that you can be. But I don't think that this is going to be a huge severe weather threat for us when we're talking about like spring severe weather tornadoes. This is more of a tropical nature system where it would be a weaker, brief spin up that's not on the ground as long, and it's probably like an EF0 to EF1. But that's a threat that we're going to watch through the overnight and into tomorrow morning as well. Kayla is saying, I just don't want to deal with the storms, but bring on the rain. And that, Kayla, I think for a lot of us, that's what it's going to end up being. It's going to be a very wet, you know, part of your Father's Day weekend. And it's a very wet finish to Juneteenth and start of Father's Day, and then other parts of the day are a-okay. But we also, you know, with any landfalling tropical system that has a track that's either moving just north of our area or through our area, not south of our area, but through our area to the north, we have to watch that spin up potential. Kim, for Gwinnett County, rain totals 3 to 5 inches probably. Could be on either side of that as well, but that's a general ballpark around the metro. And Kizzy, just talking more about that threat of severe weather, because of the center of the storm tracking kind of through Atlanta or just south of Atlanta, I really don't think that Toccoa is in that tornado threat area. I think it is mostly south of Atlanta. And you can, just to visualize kind of how these tropical systems work, we put up the radar right now so you can see these little feeder bands. This is where we can get over water. They're water spouts, and then they come on land and they can be tornadoes. But on this kind of side of the storm, and normally kind of parallel and south of where the actual low is, that's where there's the greatest, with these feeder bands, the potential for tornado activity. So when this storm tracks right over us, the track of it's going to come like just south of Atlanta, probably for the center of it. So if you are south of Atlanta, you're going to be near the center of it, or where those feeder bands would be, even though they're not feeder bands at that point, but that's where the greater potential for some rotation within some of these would be. Barrow County rain totals, yeah, you guys are in the flash flood watch. Your rain totals generally 3 to 5 inches. They could be a little higher, could be a little lower. You know, it's going to vary everywhere across the metro. Okay guys, and with that, we're going to go and wrap up this Facebook Live and this live stream on the app and on YouTube. But I appreciate you all watching. Before I wrap this up, I'm just going to give a little recap of what we're expecting. But as we track Tropical Storm Claudette through Georgia and the remnants of Tropical Storm Claudette, I want to let you know that our team has you covered. And Chris Holcomb, our chief meteorologist, he will likely be in here at some point watching this tornado threat, as well as Samantha Moore throughout the remainder of today, tonight, and tomorrow morning as well. And if there are any tornado warnings, you know, we're going to give you that information and break in on TV. I know we have a lot of programming going on 11 Live. We don't have a 6 o'clock newscast tonight, but we'll be, you know, on if there's any tornado warnings and we need to break in. And if not, if you download our 11 Alive app, on the app, you can download that for free from your app store. It's kind of what it looks like right here. But there's weather push alerts that you can subscribe to. You can also subscribe and say, I don't want the weather push alerts. But if you want the weather push alerts, we're going to notify you guys of new updates of what's happening with the remnants of this tropical system, any warnings that do come up, and updates to where we're seeing flooding and that type of nature of stuff. So we'll update you guys on this app and online if you have, you know, if you want information throughout the day today. That's, you know, the easiest. You don't even have to turn on your TV. Just open the app, and that's where you can get that information. Okay, so just to kind of recap everything, Claudette formed 5 o'clock this morning, still a tropical storm. The center of this storm is down, well, now at this point, it looks like it's moving through southern Louisiana. They just don't update the position of it until every 3 hours. So the next update will come in at 11 this morning in about an hour. On the eastern side of the storm, this is where all the rain is, and we have these feeder bands, which are where we can get the spin-up tornado threat, and that's where there are some tornado watches in effect. A couple of warnings have been popping up throughout the morning as well, and that's a secondary threat for us, but the main threat is going to be the rain that's going to be moving into North Georgia. I'll actually zoom in the radar so that you can see we're dry in Atlanta. Clouds have been really thickening up the last 2 hours, and we're already starting to see some light rain down in our most southwestern counties. So Troup and Meriwether counties, we're already getting some very light sprinkles. And down in Columbus and Warner Robins and Macon area, we're already starting to get some of that light rain moving in. So the trend of today is the later in the day that we go, the wetter that it's going to become. And it will end up being a very wet finish to the day. The timing has sped up for this wettest period for us across North Georgia. So Father's Day is going to be the point where this storm is moving over us and then east of us. So we'll have a drying trend tomorrow, but today is a trend where we get wetter later in the day. Tomorrow gets drier the later in the day that we go. So right now on radar, some of our southernmost counties, we're starting to get some of that light rain moving in. The center of the storm tracking just south of Atlanta, likely just south of Atlanta tomorrow during the morning to mid-afternoon. And with that, ahead of it and during it passing over, there's going to be the potential for heavy rain, and that will be our largest threat overall for North Georgia. There's a flash flood watch we're going to show you in a second, but rainfall totals in general 3 to 5 inches, so a lot of spots could get over 4-inch rainfall totals. This is not going to be a huge wind event for us. The winds will be breezy, but it's not going to be windy, straight up windy outside. We'll have some gusts that could be 20 to 30 miles per hour, but it's not going to be the same type of tropical setup as, say, I keep saying Zeta from last year because of how many power outages that we had from all those strong winds. I had like an 8-day-old baby at home, I think, at that point. Okay, also, we have a low but not zero risk of a spin-up tornado. It would be brief, it would be pretty weak as well, but that's something that we're going to track as we track some of these rain bands through. So here's the big picture, and the steady rain, the later in the day that we go, more of us are going to get that steady rain starting to move in. Now, initially, it's going to be pretty light. You know, it's going to be light rain, and then we go into the evening and overnight, and the intensity of this rain starts to pick up for us. And that's as the center of the storm is getting closer to us. And the actual center of it likely passes over first thing tomorrow morning. So 9 o'clock tonight, you know, at points during the evening and overnight, it is going to be steady, and it will start to turn heavy. And then first thing tomorrow morning, here 7:30, the center of the storm at that point is kind of right over us. Still heavy rain first thing tomorrow morning. And then by mid-morning to lunchtime, the storm's already pulling out of here. And once it pulls out of here, we'll have some wraparound moisture with a few showers for the afternoon tomorrow. And then we're not done with rain altogether after that. Monday, Tuesday, we do have another front that starts to approach us and brings us some more rain chances. So here's the flash flood watch. If you're in this flash flood watch, 3 to 5 inches of rain is possible. So this is going to go from kind of Barrow County area down through Gwinnett, Atlanta, all the way back towards Haralson County, and then points south of that. So if you're in that flash flood watch, 3 to 5 inches is going to be possible. here's kind of the outlook of rainfall. The highest rainfall totals right in here from Atlanta down to Macon. This whole kind of stretch going from southwest to northeast. The rainfall totals will taper off the further north that you go. So as you travel up closer in towards Lumpkin County and Pickens County and up towards Fannin and Gilmer, rain totals up there will probably only be ballpark 2 inches versus in Atlanta where they could be 3 to 5. But if you're in that flash flood watch, and in general I think rain is our biggest threat from the system that everybody's going to get the effects of, right? It's going to be raining. So there's also the off chance that there could be a brief spin-up tornado this evening through the overnight and first thing tomorrow morning. So, timeline. Rain's beginning to move in right now, and the timing of this keeps shifting up. So, when I went on the air at 6 o'clock this morning, I said, I think the heaviest is going to be between 5 p.m. this evening and 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Well, the timing is even shifting sooner. So for some of us, that rain's already moving in, it's steady rain, and it might end up being a pretty wet finish to your Saturday, the rest of the Saturday. But all the way through tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., that's when it is going to be the wettest and heaviest for us. The heaviest is overnight. And then throughout the morning tomorrow, gradually from our western counties to our eastern counties, the steady rain will wrap up, and then the last of the showers that wrap around will also wrap up. So it's a drying trend for the afternoon tomorrow. So let's go through all of this hour by hour one last time. Natasha's asking, what about the Braves game? Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier in this Facebook Live. The Braves game tonight unfortunately looks probably like a washout. They might have to reschedule that for a doubleheader tomorrow. It does look like it's probably going to be very wet out there. You can still go, but I think it's probably going to be pretty wet for us with this earlier timing that we're looking at. So here's the forecast track. This is showing you about an hour from now. And again, we already have some steady rain that's moving into some of our most southwestern counties, closer to LaGrange and Peachtree City. So this model is probably off. I'll just tell you that. It's off. The other model I think is overdoing it. So it's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, too hot, too cold. Okay, this model is probably a little bit too hot. The other model is probably a little bit too cold in terms of what it's showing. So here, I'll update you and show you this one. So this steady rain begins to move in late morning to midday in some of our southwestern counties. And again, I think this is overdoing it a little bit, but I think the other one's underdoing it a little bit. When we go through the rest of the afternoon, the rain does become much more prominent and widespread on the map. So instead of just tracking like this morning, a few of us getting that rain moving in, a lot more of us by mid-afternoon have this rain moving in, and then it becomes widespread for the evening. This is showing you 6:30 on the forecast track. Rain is widespread. Some of that rain is going to be heavy at times, and that's going to continue overnight. So it's going to be very wet this evening, overnight. And let's push the forecast track out through the overnight for first thing tomorrow morning. Here's 5, 6 o'clock, some of that heavy rain still continuing. But once we go into mid-morning tomorrow through lunchtime, the center of the storm at that point, this is where this model has it, right over eastern Georgia. Once you get past on the western side of the center of the storm, steady rain is going to be done for you. You'll still get some showers. They're going to be much lighter in nature, because the winds around this go counterclockwise. So all the deep moisture and convection, thunderstorm activity, it's always on the eastern side of these weaker systems. And on the western side, there will be some wraparound moisture, some showers that will be wrapping around for midday tomorrow. But then look at the drying trend, which continues later in the afternoon, even some clearing of that cloud cover. 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, clearing of the cloud cover. So, you know, the finish to the Father's Day weekend is going to be a lot drier than the start of it. So just kind of, let me take one more graphic up here. Rain's moving in this morning through the afternoon, and then tomorrow morning the rain is tapering off. So that's kind of a recap here. And Darla, where you are depends on what time the rain is going to start for you. Okay, so if you guys have more questions, if you go find me on Facebook or Twitter, Melissa Nord WX, I will try to answer as many of those as I can. And you can always I've got a timeline breakdown for you on our 11 Alive app you can get as well. Bye, everybody.